Rodrigo has decided to leave Real Madrid, and Chelsea are already preparing a bid. Lionel Messi is surprisingly close to a return to Europe, and one club has already made contact. Perez is ready to pounce and sign a Bayern defender for free, the perfect reinforcement at no cost. And Napoli are moving quietly for a top La Masia talent, with 30 million euros on the table while their rivals are still sleeping. We're covering all that and more in today's video. Guys, let's try and hit 350 thumbs up on this one. Your support helps us make even better content for you. Let's get right into the latest transfer gossip. The situation surrounding Rodrigo at Real Madrid is growing increasingly tense, and Chelsea look ready to make their move. Spanish outlet Fichajes reports that Chelsea are preparing an 80 million euro offer, and not for next summer, but for this January during the winter transfer window. This is a very aggressive move from the London club. Why is this even possible? Let's look at the facts. Because in football, they decide everything. This season, Rodrigo has only started 3 times in 15 matches for Real. His total game time, 348 minutes. These are the numbers of a rotation player, not the star he considers himself to be. Sources close to the player confirm he's well aware he isn't a key figure in Xabi Alonso's plans at the Santiago Bernabeu. The player is reportedly ready to ask the club for a transfer if the right offer comes in, and it's not just Chelsea in this race. It's understood that Arsenal and Liverpool are also monitoring the situation closely. For now, they are watching, while Chelsea are getting the money ready. Now for the paradox that makes this story even more interesting. Chelsea are offering 80 million euros for a player whose estimated transfer value is currently 75 million euros. But take note, his value has dropped significantly in recent months. The reason? A dreadful statistic. Rodrigo hasn't scored in his last 27 matches for Real. But Chelsea don't seem bothered by this. They see his long-term potential, not his current form. They desperately need to strengthen their attacking line and turn it into a well-oiled machine. The Blues board believes Rodrigo is the one who can bring the unpredictability and quality they lack. They're willing to take a risk, a very high one, but the potential reward is huge. For Real Madrid, this is a real dilemma. On one hand, they recognize his skill and dedication. On the other, his minimal involvement in big games, like the mere 21 minutes in the loss against Liverpool at Anfield, speaks volumes. It's a symptom of his discontent and a mismatch of his status. So they face a choice: hold on to a valuable but unhappy asset for the future, or take 80 million euros right now. That sum could seriously help in restructuring the attack, although the priority, of course, is to maintain a competitive squad. Selling Rodrigo would weaken the bench and force them to find an urgent replacement. And what about the player himself? For him, a move to Chelsea guarantees a leading role and consistent game time. He values stability and the status of a key player more than just having a top club's badge on his shirt. The Premier League, the constant spotlight, this is what could boost his international profile. So the main question remains: are Real prepared to let him go, and will 80 million euros be the figure that makes them say yes? The January transfer window promises to be decisive. This transfer, if it happens, will trigger a whole wave of moves at both clubs and become one of the biggest stories of the winter. Sancho to Dortmund for a third time? Borussia are reportedly prepared to open the door to their former prodigy, but on one key condition: Jadon must become a free agent. This comes after Manchester United invested an astronomical sum in him, only to now be willing to let him depart for no fee. According to Football Insider, the German club is prepared to sign Sancho should he leave United without compensation. The logic is quite sound. Consider the facts. Currently, Jadon is on loan at Aston Villa, where he has failed to break into the first team. A prior spell at Chelsea was similarly unproductive. One recalls how highly his performances for Borussia were regarded. That was when he was a genuine star. His subsequent career in England, by contrast, has been an unmitigated failure. Sancho's contract expires next summer, and while United possess a 1-year extension clause, the club is inclined to release the player. The fan base has long been eager to move on from the financial burden of his significant salary. When a transfer of that magnitude yields a negligible return, it is often best to break the cycle. The Dortmund proposition appears rational. They would acquire a familiar player who once excelled for them, without a risky financial outlay. In turn, Sancho gets an opportunity to revitalize his career in a familiar environment. Could a third attempt prove successful? After such significant setbacks, many clubs would be deterred from considering him, but Borussia has a history of backing its former players. We must not forget, Sancho was once considered one of Europe's most exciting young talents while wearing their yellow shirt. Perhaps a return home will allow him to rediscover his playing identity. Even so, returning to the same club for a third time is a peculiar case of footballing déjà vu. However, modern football is rife with unusual occurrences. The fundamental question is this: can Sancho prove he is still capable of performing at the elite level, or is this simply another indistinct transfer in a career that has long deviated from its anticipated trajectory? For Dortmund, it is a no-risk proposition. For Sancho himself, it is a final chance to prove he is not merely a costly failure, but a genuine talent who became lost within an unsuitable system. If this move proves unsuccessful, his future options become severely limited. There's a ticking time bomb in Munich, and its name is Dayot Upamecano. One of Europe's best defenders could leave Bayern for absolutely nothing. His contract is up next summer, which means in just 2 months he has every right to agree a deal with any top club in the world. And who's the main hunter in this chase? Real Madrid, of course. According to all the top insiders, Florentino Perez and his team are already in direct talks with the player's agents. And for Madrid, it all makes perfect sense. First, they need to lock down their defense. Alaba isn't getting any younger, and Rudiger, with all due respect, isn't always a rock. Second, their youth strategy. Upamecano fits perfectly into Real's new guard alongside his mates, Tchouaméni, Camavinga, and Mendy. The French connection is waiting for a new member. The trigger for Real was that Champions League match against PSG. Remember it? Upamecano completely pocketed the PSG attack and reminded everyone why he's called an elite defender. And here's the biggest irony for Bayern. Just a year or two ago, people in Munich were doubting if they should bet on him. Now, after he's become a true leader under Vincent Kompany, the club risks losing him for free. So why don't Bayern just extend his deal? It all comes down to money. And let's be honest, Upamecano and his agents have some royal demands. Around 15 million euros a year net, plus a fat signing-on bonus. Bayern are in a classic trap. Either pay top dollar, beating Real's offer, or watch their key defender leave for Madrid for free in the summer. Sell him in winter? Pointless. Everyone knows he's a free agent in 6 months. The club's sporting director is publicly putting on a brave face, saying interest from other clubs is no surprise. But behind the scenes, it's a stalemate. An offer has been made, but there's no answer. And while Bayern are thinking, they're already working on a plan B. If Upamecano leaves, the club will try to lure Nico Schlotterbeck from Borussia Dortmund. But that's a whole other story. But Bayern have a secret weapon, and it's Vincent Kompany. It was the new coach who breathed new life into Upamecano. Under him, Dayot has become calmer, more confident, and started taking more risks to launch attacks. He's become the cornerstone of the new system. The board is desperately hoping that Kompany's authority and his faith in the player can convince the Frenchman to stay. Of course, other giants aren't just standing by. Liverpool, PSG, and even Barca are watching the situation. But let's be real. Right now, Real Madrid are the clear favorites. So what's the situation? Real are pushing. Bayern are running out of time. And Upamecano himself is choosing between huge money in Madrid and Kompany's project in Munich. But the main question everyone is asking now is, how did a club of Bayern's stature even let one of their key players get into the final year of his contract? It's a management failure that could cost them tens of millions and weaken the team for the near future. But what do you think? Where will Upamecano end up? Will he stay at Bayern thanks to Kompany or move to the Santiago Bernabeu? Drop your predictions in the comments. Let's see who's right. Takefusa Kubo is once again the center of attention, and not without reason. Fichajes reports that Spurs are prepared to offer 60 million euros for the Japanese winger in January. It is a substantial sum, but for a player being described as a future superstar in Spain, it is entirely justifiable. After an unsuccessful attempt to establish himself at Real Madrid, Kubo moved to Real Sociedad, and it became a turning point. In the summer of 2022, he effectively relaunched his career. His progress is evident: consistent performances, attacking contributions, and versatility. It is no surprise that clubs from England are now pursuing him. He is precisely the type of player that Tottenham lacks. their problems in the final third are apparent. The team needs a footballer capable of adding creativity, tempo, and unpredictability. Kubo fits this profile. He can operate as a playmaker, is not afraid to take initiative, and poses a threat to goal himself. A flexible asset for any manager. It is important to note this is not the first time the London club has attempted to sign the Japanese international. Previous deals have reportedly collapsed at the final stage. Now, however, the discussion involves activating his buyout clause, which is a serious signal of intent. Tottenham understand that at 24, Kubo is entering the peak of his career, and delaying negotiations is no longer an option. For the player himself, a move to the Premier League could be an excellent career development. He has already proven he can excel in La Liga, and it is a logical next step to challenge himself in the English Premier League, a league that is physical, fast, and demanding. It is a chance to rise to a new level and showcase his abilities on an even bigger stage. But there is a small nuance. Kubo's contract runs until the summer of 2029. The Basque club is in no rush to part with their key player, especially in the middle of the season. However, the proposed 60 million euros is an amount that could change everything. Kubo was once dubbed the Japanese Messi and predicted to achieve stardom at Real Madrid. It did not work out in the Spanish capital, but he has flourished in San Sebastian. And now he has the opportunity to become a Premier League star. Not as a squad player at a top club, but as a key figure in a team that is relying on him. If Spurs complete this deal, it could become one of the most high-profile transfers of the winter. And for Kubo, it is a chance to definitively prove that he is not just a talent, but a true top-level player. Erling Haaland, Manchester City, one of the hottest names on the transfer market, the striker is being linked with a potential move away from the English club, as two giants are interested, Barcelona and Real Madrid. According to a report from TBR Football, both Spanish clubs are keen on signing the Norwegian. Both clubs believe, and this is the key point, that his contract contains clauses related to a potential departure. Yes, the very stipulations that could change everything. It's unclear if they will decide to test Manchester City's resolve by making an offer at the end of the season. But the fact is, the interest is real. Friends, let's take a quick pause so you can hit like or dislike on this video. Any reaction is important. Thank you for your engagement, it really helps the channel. Now let's look at the numbers. The Norwegian footballer cost Manchester City £51 million, possibly the best deal in recent years. Signing him would be a huge success for both Spanish clubs, but there's a nuance. The report claims that his departure from Manchester City is unlikely before 2027. This is an important detail to understand. Now for the club's motivation. Real Madrid are using Kylian Mbappé as a central striker, but as everyone who follows football knows, the French player is better suited to playing on the wing. Therefore, signing a reliable forward would be a wise decision. The Norwegian is undoubtedly a world-class player who could significantly strengthen Real Madrid in the final phase of attack. As for Barcelona, the situation is more obvious. Robert Lewandowski is in the twilight of his career and will need a replacement. It's not yet clear which of the two clubs could secure a deal for Haaland. Haaland has proven himself in the Premier League with Manchester City and might be ready for a new challenge. A move to Spain could be an exciting opportunity for him. Real Madrid and Barcelona are among the biggest clubs in the world, and such a chance would be hard to turn down. The Norwegian striker is already a world-class player and has helped Manchester City win major trophies. He may feel the time is right to take on a new challenge. A move to Spain could be an interesting prospect for him. However, it's unlikely he will push for a move from the Premier League club anytime soon. And now for the most interesting part. Initially, City sources stated that after his new 9-year contract, running until 2034, the previous clauses were removed. 9 years, a contract until 2034. That sounds like complete confidence in the future. However, and this is where the intrigue comes in, sources close to the deal, as well as sources at Barca and Real, believe that some clauses still remain. And you know what? We shouldn't forget that every major contract Haaland has signed has always included such stipulations. So, we'll see how this ends. But speaking of clauses, don't expect Haaland to leave the club in the next 18 months. Barcelona have already accepted that he will likely stay at City beyond 2026. He remains their long-term dream. But for now, he is fully focused on the current season. So nothing is imminent, but in 18 months, this topic could become a matter for serious discussion. Haaland will always attract attention, both in the Premier League and in European football. Marc Casado could be out of Barcelona this January. The La Masia graduate, who once joined the first team with dreams in his eyes, is now one step away from walking out the same door. According to Fichajes, several top European clubs are ready to stump up around 30 million euros for the 22-year-old midfielder. That's a serious price tag, especially given Barca's current financial state. And here's the interesting part. Hansi Flick was apparently keen to build his project around Casado, young, ambitious, an academy lad, a perfect fit for the club's philosophy. But the sporting directors have a completely different idea. Right now, both a loan and a permanent sale are being seriously considered. Let's be honest, the competition in Barca's midfield is insane. Plus, the club doesn't just need to win on the pitch, it needs to survive in its Excel spreadsheets. Keeping an expensive, promising asset on the bench is a luxury Barcelona simply can't afford. What's more, the board has already told the player himself, don't expect much game time for the rest of the season. From a financial point of view, selling Casado is a critical move for the club. That 30 million euros isn't just a number in a report. It's a breath of fresh air with the strict salary cap and the endless financial fair play roller coaster. If someone puts an envelope with the right amount on the table, Barca definitely won't be playing it cool. The interest in the player is real. The main contender is Italy's Napoli. No official bids yet, but in Naples, they see Casado as a key figure for their future midfield. And for Marc himself, this isn't just a transfer, it's a new step in his career. Regular football at European level, a stable project, a potential fight for the Scudetto. That's a whole different scale compared to a few minutes here and there at the Montjuic. But Barcelona won't just let Casado go easily. It'll all depend on two things: the player's own stance and the weight of the offer. It has to suit both the club's sporting ambitions and its financial needs. Otherwise, it's stay, train, and wait for your chance. For Marc, this is a moment of truth. Keep fighting for a place in Barca's crowded system, or choose stability outside his home club. Or maybe this is the very turning point that could reboot his career. The situation is heating up for the January window. There's a clear feeling, this transfer is just a matter of time and circumstances. If Napoli or another club seizes the moment, we could be seeing Casado at a new club very soon. Lionel Messi on loan to Galatasaray? No, this isn't a joke. It's a genuine transfer plan. Mundo Deportivo is reporting that the Turkish giants are seriously looking at a 4-month loan deal for the Argentinian from Inter Miami, just for the MLS offseason. I know what you're thinking, sounds like pure clickbait fantasy, but there's a real reason behind it. The MLS regular season finished in October. If Inter Miami somehow get to the Cup final, Messi plays until December 6th. But then what? A massive break until March 2026. Almost 3 months with no top-level football. That's not ideal when you're defending a World Cup title in the summer. So what does Messi do? He thinks about staying sharp, and that's where Galatasaray have apparently spotted an opportunity. According to journalists in Turkey, the club is keeping a close eye on his situation and looking at ways to bring him to Istanbul. You know who else is keeping a close eye on things? Me on all the people who watch every video but still haven't subscribed. Lads, unlike this Messi deal, your subscription isn't a rumor. It's something real you can do right now. That would be better than any transfer window. The plan is a 4-month loan in the winter. The Turks are said to be working on it already. Galatasaray are interested, and it's understood that Messi could be loaned to the Yellow Reds for 4 months following the MLS break, which is linked to the 2026 World Cup. And by the way, Messi isn't against a short hop back to Europe. The idea has been floated before, just to keep him match fit for the World Cup. He hasn't said anything publicly, obviously, but the fact that European clubs, including ones from Turkey, are interested, says a lot. The thought of Messi in a Galatasaray shirt, it's a dream for a club that wants to make noise in Europe again. Just picture it, a packed stadium in Istanbul, the derby against Fenerbahce, and Messi walks out. Is it crazy? Yes. But it makes sense when you look at the MLS calendar. Plus, Messi's stats in Miami this season have been insane. 40 goals and 17 assists in all competitions. The league's popularity went through the roof, ticket sales, Apple TV views, all because of him. So if you see a picture of Messi in yellow and red this winter, don't be shocked. Europe is knocking on the door for the best player on the planet again. The only question is, will he answer?